Welcome back, everybody, to the Lavender Octocast. I am your host, Druz, joined by Ripper and a
Hi.
special guest, Dexter, who has decided to
Hello.
join us today. Hello, Dex. How are you?
I am doing well.
Are you surprised we invited you?
Honestly, yeah.
Kind of out of
Wasn't
the
sure
blue.
when it was gonna
Process.
happen. Thought it might. Didn't expect
it's
today,
a
though.
yeah, it's a good thing we invited you because I just I thought so. People at home, Dex is Ripper's brother.
Yes. This is my brother. He's smarter than everyone. He's a genius. Worldwide. Mr. Worldwide.
Worldwide genius. I love that.
He's a new pit bull. Alright.
New Pitbull?
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide. Pitbull! All right. Anyway, guys. So, the reason I dragged on an extra person is because I have a topic that I would like to talk with more than just Ripper himself. So I decided, hey, let's bring his little brother on. Let's talk to Dex, because I know Dex is intellectual. I know he has some really good qualities about him, and he has some really good insights for being younger than both of us.
Yes.
So, now we introduce the topic. So, guys, the topic today is we can branch off in any direction. What determines something that is good? What determines something that is evil?
Alright.
And like my idea from this came from I'm working on a project, right? So my idea from this kind of sparked from that, and I was like, okay, well, what how do people perceive the difference between good and evil? Because what one person's good could be another person's evil, right? So I'm just kind of curious how you guys see what's good, what's evil, and maybe the reverse. Like, could you see it from a different point of view, or could you understand from a different point of view? Let's see where we go from there.
Hmm.
Anybody?
Uh, I'd say that typically, yeah, it's either you've learned what's good and evil from like family and whatnot, or just the law. The law says, "Hey, you can't rob stores because that's bad," and you just think, "Yeah, yeah, that makes sense." So you just don't.
Okay, but here's the thing: is who determined that was bad, and who determined what is good, right? Like, who established that these events are good events and these events are bad events?
I
Like,
assume somewhere in the line of time people figured out what ethics was and morality. Like what defines what is evil is malicious intent, right? Like something that is actively done in the act to hurt someone else,
okay,
Hmm?
or take something from someone else, or use someone else to define that. But good is like the polar opposite, which is to actively do something good, to actively like help someone, to fucking cook food for someone, to give people things that you can afford to give. But there's a point where giving can be too bad as well. Like sometimes people will give things, and at first they mean well, but then they'll do things like expect things back in return without ever like indicating anything like that. So it then creates a negative thing, which you wouldn't say is particularly evil, but it's not good either. So it's still on the malicious side, but it's not specifically bad. The problem is that the parallels between good and evil are like so far apart. Like they're so distant that there are so many things in between that start to almost become both good and evil. Like a relationship. In a relationship, like sometimes people become dependent on each other. Fuck. Um, and dependency isn't all bad. Like it's okay to like have some reliance on your partner, but then if you both become dependent, you become codependent, which then creates a very toxic relationship. And what was once a good relationship, even if you still feel like you're happy in, is just destroying each other because you're both reliant on each other. Therefore, you never leave each other, like each other's sides, each other's lives, etc.
Mhm.
There you go.
no,
That's my take.
No, like I think that's a great point of view. I think you talked about some like I agree with you on everything
I got
basically
some like
because
wordplay stuff.
because yeah, I mean I brought it up, but yeah, there is that huge polarity when it comes to good things and evil things, but there's so much middle ground that could be wishy-washy. It could be either or, right? Or it can be both kind of combined.
Yeah.
And so like you brought up some examples of like relationships where there could be good and bad relationships, but there also could be wishy-washy relationships where it's like codependent or like there's so many other things that can cause like good or evil, right? But another thing we can kind of look at is in different people's eyes, is it seen as evil, right? Or is it like is something seen as good? Because I feel like there is a difference in how people sees things, like they perceive things, right? Somebody could look at, like you were saying, let's say they were expecting something, they could look at that as a good thing, like, hey, I did something good for you, now you should do something good for me. And to them, that's something good. They did something good, they deserve something good. But then you have the evil side where it's like they deserve it. They believe that they deserve it. So that's much more of like that harshness, that maliciousness you were saying. But then you have like you have something like, let's bring up, I forgot who it was. There was somebody who was doing an experiment, but there's multiple experiments in science, right? Where people do things to try to solve something, but it can be inhumane, right? Now, is that considered a good thing or is that considered a bad thing? Because the act of what they're trying to achieve could be a good thing, but if they're murdering a bunch of test subjects along the way, is that a bad thing? Like what draws the line when it comes to something like that?
I'd say that it's when the bad starts outweighing the good. Like, if you're looking for the cure to cancer, but you kill, like, 2/3 of the planet, I don't think it was well, actually, cancer is a bad choice. Yeah, you would probably
Like, of all
want
the
to
diseases, they'll
sacrifice
probably choose it.
that.
we
On the
we
other hand, though,
we
killing.
talked about you so well.
Though,
I'm on the
to be fair,
spot.
though, that was a good analogy. If in the like means to cure cancer, you kill 2/3 of the population, you are actually doing more bad than good. You have defined. You've turned to the bad side because eventually you've got to cut your losses and be like, "Fuck, I'm not getting there," because in 2/3 of the population dying, have you actually found the cure?
Well,
The thing
yeah.
is you
Okay,
keep sacrificing person after person after person in hopes that you can find a cure, but for what cause? Are you no longer helping the population? You are a problem in the population. You, in yourself, are your own cancer in that sense.
fair, fair. But okay, so let's take this one step further. Let's say after killing 2/3 of the population, you did find the cure to cancer. Is it
Great.
considered good or is it considered bad still? You killed half the population, but you have the cure to cancer.
It's more than half. And no, you're still bad. Because you'll forever be known as somebody that killed 2/3 of the population. Great, you've found a cure to cancer, but again, you found a cure that will temporarily work until a disease mutates.
Right
Mm.
there. See, like this is the thing I wanted to talk about with you guys because like it's those things that kind of like spark my interest because there was a doctor that his project got shut down. What he was working on was brain transplants, right? He was trying to transplant the brain of a monkey into another monkey, and he was trying to see if he could actually get it to work. In which he was partially successful, right? He was able to transplant the brain into another monkey's body, and it was able to function for a certain amount of time before it died. Right? And I did research on it, and it's true. It was able to function for a little bit. It wasn't long. It was just a very little bit. It was able to function, but it died. And he kept killing like so many monkeys doing this, and they eventually shut him down because it was like immorally wrong. But he is like a famous neurologist and like all these things. He has many books, many degrees, and everything. And so he's still seen as a really good guy, but he did something like that and they shut him down. So is he a good guy still for
Wait,
being all this?
like he was practicing on monkeys and stuff?
Yeah.
Right, so this is where the ethical dilemma of humans versus animals comes in. Monkeys are still an intelligent enough species that experimenting on them is wrong. But again, the only way as people that we can actually evolve in this point, well, to keep ourselves from dying, is to use the closest thing we have to a person as the experiment. So the closest thing we have in replication is a monkey. monkeys and people distantly related, correct?
Yeah.
So it's as simple as where do you draw the line? Okay, you an animal rights activist. If you're an animal rights activist, the person's evil. He was evil. If you're not, but you have like a bit of ethics, you might be like, yeah, what he did was a bit fucked up, but in the end, like he still got it done. If you just don't care about animals, in your opinion, he was one of the best people.
So
As oh, sorry.
no, you go
As
ahead.
my
You were talking
dad
first.
says, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. Simple.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, some people seem bad, some people seem good. All a matter of perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of why I wanted to bring this up because, I mean, I don't know if you guys have any like dilemmas that maybe not like as extreme, but maybe like certain things that you guys have seen or have not really done, but like have seen in your life that are like, oh, is this person a good person or bad person or like things that because like that was just one of the things that kind of popped in my head whenever I was doing some research on it. And I was like, well, this is interesting. Is he considered a good guy or bad guy? He got awards. He got a huge memorial whenever he died, but like he killed so many things in the process and he wasn't even successful. He was partially successful. He never fully broke the thing to do it. And like his goal for it was actually a good goal. He was trying to make a brain, he was trying to like learn how to do it so he can put Stephen Hawking's brain into a new body so he could still live on. So ultimately didn't succeed. But like yeah, that was like my curious question is like is it considered good? Is it considered bad? And like what draws the line between a moral good, moral bad? And is this all just based on perspective?
Here's an interesting dilemma, right? So, per se, I'll use a case that I'm looking at right now. You, as a father, break up with your partner and you have a kid. So you have to leave and you have to leave the kid behind, but you still want to see that kid, you still want to interact with that kid, right? But you can't actually take care of that kid because you don't have a stable living environment. Now, you have a certain amount of time before, like, you're going to be able to have a place where that kid can stay. But then you start seeing things like neglect and abuse and mistreatment of the child that is your kid from the mother. So you then have to make a decision on whether or not to leave the child with the mother while you try to get your stuff together, or risk gambling foster care, which is that you have to get like care and protection involved for the child welfares. And then they'll be taken from the mother and put into foster home, but you might then not be able to see your daughter anymore, or child anymore, or son anymore either. So what do you do? Because you're going to A, lose your child, maybe, or B, lose your child, maybe.
Ooh, that's hard.
There is no good or evil. There is it's a dilemma. It's a moral dilemma because you have to be like, do I put them in the foster system? And even then, putting them in the foster system can expose them to the households that are even more abusive, even more
That's true.
neglectful.
That's
So
true.
you're running such a gamble on what you have to do. So you'd be like, I just have to wait it out. But how long can you wait it out? How long can you postpone before you have to make the decision on whether or not to just figure out a way to get the child into foster care? How long can you wait before the abuse and neglect that you're seeing becomes too much? It's a whole situation, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I never
man.
really thought about, oh, what if I am not able to get to them in time? Like, I get myself already, and by the time I get there, it's too late. Because, like, yeah, my answer was just gonna be, oh, I'll try my best to get myself in a stable living environment so I can then take them in and, you know, a good
Yes.
life. But
Yes,
that's a bit tough.
it
Yeah.
is. Druz?
Ex-
Ooh.
ex- man, I was thinking like Dex. Man, this is really a predicament because it's like you're standing and you're holding two boulders in each hand. You let go of one, the other one will crush you, right?
Mm.
So it's hard because even in today's society, let's say this were a case, and let's say there was like a little bit more time, right? Say a little bit more time for like the father to try to get a job and everything. It's so hard to get a job and so hard to actually build that household that by the time you even get that ready, I feel like you've already lost on all time. You already lost all chances. So it's such a hard dilemma. And like you said, there's really no right or well, there is a right or well, there really is no right or wrong.
There is no right or
Because
wrong answer.
yeah, because it's man. Oh man, that's a great question. Holy crap. I actually don't have like a good answer for it.
Because there isn't one. It's an
Yeah.
impossible thing. I don't even know how people could live in it. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
This is why I love a good moral dilemma.
In
I mean,
my
like,
case, I
Brains,
think I
though
would
it's
gamble on
fun.
foster home.
I think I might gamble
Because
on foster home too, just because yes, it could lead to like them just falling into a bad household, but also like there also is that chance where they get a good life out of it. And
yes.
sometimes it's a good switch around for them. Sometimes it actually helps people. So there is always that chance and there is like some good in that decision too. But I really don't know.
Oh man, what an intense one. Took me a moment to like figure it out in my head while we were talking about good and evil. Because you were like, "What's a real life example?" And I've seen a real life example like this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, what's the? There's just nothing.
Yeah. And like if you notice, I asked this question because I wanted us to get into this position where it makes us think. It makes you really question how we perceive things. And like you brought up, sometimes there are situations in our lives where there isn't a good answer. There isn't a good solution for the problems we are given. And sometimes, and like I guess this is kind of like more of a lesson I want to kind of put out for people, is like sometimes you have to be okay with that. Sometimes you have to be okay with there not being a good answer to something. Because I feel like some people get so caught up on there not being a good answer that they end up tearing into themselves more than just being like, all right, well, they're both evil. So let's go with the lesser evil, right? Let's go with something that's going to be somewhat okay, something that might work, right? And I feel like people tear into themselves and they destroy themselves over it because sometimes there just isn't another option. Like sometimes you just can't do anything. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Anyone else got any interesting predicaments where you don't know right and wrong?
Dex, do you have anything?
I do not.
uh,
The best one.
yeah, I mean, I gave mine, whereas like the scientist, uh, Ripper gave
Mm.
his, where you have the moral dilemma of the child. Dex has nothing for us, but I mean, like, there's, I bet you there's multiple
Uh,
moral dilemmas you could probably look up.
Dex is like, oh.
Well, I mean, like,
uh,
I bet you if you go online, you could look up many moral dilemmas, and like some of them will probably be easy to answer. Just like is it the trolley one, where it's like you could save your daughter,
yeah.
kill your wife,
Yeah.
or like there's another one I saw. I think it's like a parody of it, but it was like cut off. It was like cut off your dick, but save 30 people.
Ooh.
That is actually a very difficult one, though.
Yeah, like
Because now you're playing with lives and also your masculinity, right? And, like, it should be. I'm sure any girl would just be like, just cut off your dick, whatever, easy. But, like, there are so many things that complicate after that.
yeah. Actually, that's a good question. What would you do in that situation? If you were in that situation where you were placed where let's not use 30. Let's say 10 people's lives are at stake. You could save 10 people, but you had to cut off your dick.
Right.
Or
And that's 10 people
or
with
you
no
could let all 10
remorse.
people die and you could walk away with your dick.
You know, I really don't want to say it, but I reckon I'd let 10 people die.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think that I would be confident enough in myself to cut off my dick. Like, I don't
Okay.
think I could bring myself to do it, like, physically. My mind probably wouldn't just let me, even
Okay.
if it was 10 people, because I don't know those 10 people again.
Oh, that's true. That goes back to third episode where we talked about
Family versus people.
Yeah. Okay. Dex, what is your opinion on that? What would you
Uh,
choose? Would you cut off your dick or would you save 10 people? I mean, oh, that's
oh,
like
cause like I don't want to feel like I just killed 10 people, but I also want to keep my dick. It's
I also keep my pee, so what?
that's the
But I mean,
problem.
again, that's that moral dilemma, right? So that right there is an excellent example of what I was trying to talk about, where it's like perspective, for you saving your dick is a good thing for you. It's not morally good because you're killing 10 people, but in like for
Well,
you,
the thing is, we're not
you
killing them;
feel
they're just
good.
dying. So it's not like we're directly killing them either. We've been put in like a saw trap situation.
Yeah, right. It's
It's
like that's
literally
the
a
thing.
saw trap situation. Actually, we're literally discussing what it's like to be in Saw.
Yeah,
Actually,
I know.
yeah, that's just made me realize Saw is just a good example of, great moral dilemmas.
Yeah, I never
And, like,
thought
I was
about
gonna
that.
bring up some Saw things earlier, but I just couldn't think of any particular ones at the time.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it's like harm yourself to live, or like cut the key out of someone else's eye to live, which is pretty gruesome. But like, even then, when it comes to harming yourself, are you able to harm yourself to save your own life? Will you have the willpower to do it? Because
Hmm,
pain is still something that will stop you.
that's true. Now let's throw in another curveball, right? So let's keep the same problem where 10 people or cut off your PP. But let's say it's not you don't have to cut it off. Let's say it's surgically removed and you're under anesthesia to get it removed. Does that change the situation?
Honestly, yeah. Because,
Uh,
like, uh, I've
I've
always
spent a lot of
thought
time living with my dick and using my dick. I don't. I don't like. I don't think I would be like okay with letting it go still mentally. Like it's like you're under anesthesia, you you won't feel a thing, but like you won't even be able to think about it. But like still, my brain would still be like, but that's like mine. Like that's like something that literally defines me as a man.
Hmm.
uh,
Okay. Dex, your standpoint?
I'd probably actually do it. Because, like, my main problem with a lot of things is I don't want it to hurt.
Okay.
Because, like, for one, I have a wobbly tooth. It hasn't come out yet. I think we're gonna need to, like, yank it out or something. And I'm just
Oh,
thinking, just
baby
knock
Dex.
me out, man, please. And that ties into this. If I had to just cut it off myself, number 1, I'd probably die, and number 2, it hurt a lot. So, yeah, just get the professional doctor to do it. Knock me out. I'll save 10 people.
Interesting. See, I like this. You guys both have different answers. You guys have both different reasons for doing it too. So I like that. I like that we were able to kind of bring this up, and like for some people may have been uncomfortable to talk about some of these things. Some people
Yeah,
may
but
have.
what about you, Druz?
Ah, see, you know how I am. I always fare in the benefit of saving the most lives. That's how I am.
Yes.
I always want to save the most lives. But I've dabbled with this question for a while. All right, because I thought about it.
Yeah.
Right, I'm very much like you, where it's like I would like to keep my PP. It's one of those things that I just like, you know. I like to keep my PP. But man, that's where the moral dilemma comes in because me morally, I want to save those 10 people. I don't know them. I have no idea what they've done. They could all be murderers. Who knows? They like who really knows what they've done? But like me morally, I want to save those people. I want to do it. So, oh man, I feel like I would ask so many questions be like, could I get another dick put on me? Could I like if I were to get
I
it
wonder if
removed?
prosthetic dicks exist.
What?
Prosthetic dicks. I wonder if they exist.
I mean, they're able to turn a
Maybe
female
too.
to have a penis, so something
Yeah.
works. Actually, have you seen that? Have you seen how they turn females into making them have dicks?
No, I have not seen a female become a male.
So you can watch an animated version of it, but basically, they take a straw and they put a straw near the urethra where you pee. Is it urethra or is it? Yeah, it's urethra, right?
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
The ureter goes to the bladder. That's right. Anyway, so through the urethra, they take it, they saw it out, and they cut it open, right? And they pull it out the little strand, and they put like a straw around it, and then they take the flesh and they flesh it around it, basically stitch it up around it. So basically, their penis is a straw. It's like a flexible, bendable tissue straw kind of thing, right? Which is why, like, I don't know if it expands or grows. I don't think it does. I think it just kind of flops. But anyway, like, it's so weird to think about, right? So technically, if you got your dick cut off, they can give you a new dick. It's not going to be the same, but you could get a replacement dick. Does that change anything for you, Donnie? I mean, Ripper?
No.
Yeah, I feel it.
I just looked into it. So they can replace it with the prosthetic that does function fairly well. But I don't believe that you would have any feeling in it.
Yes, that is the thing.
So you would
wouldn't have to feel
lose
it.
that still. And is it just your dick, or is it like the whole thing?
That's a great question. Let's say if it was just the penis, not the
I still,
balls, the penis. You
I
still
would
wouldn't?
let people die.
Okay, what if it was the full thing? Still
I
no?
would still let people die.
Dex, does that change anything for you?
Honestly, I don't think it does, because I don't intend on having kids, at least not yet.
The reason
I
why
just
I
think
brought this up
just one thing to me.
was because the testosterone levels would become fucked if you lost the whole thing.
That's true.
So
But they do
yeah,
make
you'd be changing your, like, you could take supplements and whatever, but you'd be changing your everything forever,
very true. Very true.
permanently altering your body chemically as well.
See, I think I'm gonna have to side with Ripper on this because as much as I want to save people, right? I would love to save all those people, but there's too much drastic changes, especially if you throw in if you have a family or like if you're just newly married. There's so many other things that can go like there's so many things that like change in your life based off of that one thing, right? Because like if you want to have a kid, you no longer can have a kid, and like there's so many different consequences and things that can happen too. So I think it's kind of like based on the time frame. If I was an old man, already had kids, and I was a grandpa, yeah, go ahead, cut it off. I don't care. But if I'm young, like I am right now, like if it was right now, I would say no because
Yeah.
I would want to keep it. I still have the rest of my life. I still want to get married. I want to have my own kids. I want to be able to do things. So it's like I feel bad. I'm killing 10 people, but I would
Yeah, then
save my dick.
Again, you're not
they
killing them; they're
like that's
dying as a
something
result of you
unusual.
not cutting off your dick. I don't think this directly correlates with you killing them
That's true.
because of the
That's
sacrifice to yourself that is required to save them. So they're
that's true.
dying.
That's true. Dex, you have anything you want to add?
I never thought about the fact that I'd need to want to keep using it after it'd be removed. So yeah, probably affects it. I think I do want to keep this thing.
We just
So you're
completely
changing your answer back to keeping it?
Yeah.
wow. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, we really should have brought a female into this. Can we bring your girlfriend in? Is
Probably.
she?
She is not available right now.
Ah, dang, that'd be so funny. I would love to see. I mean, I don't know how we'd ask her that question because she doesn't have a dick. But
Mm,
oh, I know how. You like for the
take a
females out
giant
there.
chunk.
No, for the females out there, would you get your uterus removed?
Yeah, just take a giant
They
Surgically be
still
chunk
get
removed.
of
sexual pleasure though.
uterus.
They'll still get sexual pleasure. They just won't be able to reproduce.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's the whole thing. I don't plan
Would
on
they give up the entire
reproducing.
feeling inside their vagina
You see,
and outside their vagina?
like that's the question, and that's for people at home to decide and how they feel. I mean,
Basically,
I-
would you render your genitalia useless? Is the question. Whoever
yeah,
you are, would you render it useless and no longer like at any form available for 10 people to live?
there's your dilemma. So we'll go ahead. We'll kind of wrap things up here. Dex, do you have anything you want to say as a final statement?
Uh, I had to fit with the rest of the things I've said. I have nothing.
All right, Ripper, have anything you want to close us off with?
Subscribble and like the video. And also, if you were listening, thanks for listening. If you weren't, that sucks.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Druz. I'm joined by Ripper and Dex, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Bye.